Yeah, well, we got to have like a huge reduction. It's like a sale. It's like we having like a blowout sale. You go from that to yeah. Is everybody all right? I want to say welcome to each and every one of you back this evening. Just please bear with me for a few minutes. You ain't got to go to sleep. Just keep your eyes open. Everything is going to be all right. Is everybody good? All right. I just hope that we all had a wonderful, wonderful evening or afternoon, and that everybody got enough to eat and enough rest. So if you got that, then you're good. You're better than most. All right. So we're going to actually go ahead here and try to get into our lesson for the evening. Looking at love that compels us. Love that compels us. And this morning, we just took a few minutes to talk about the compelling nature of Christ's love, and then how love compels us to live differently. But what we're going to do this afternoon is I want us to look at verse number 20. Verse number 20 here in 2 Corinthians, because Paul tells us something here in 2 Corinthians 20. And what he actually tells us here is that, if you look, he tells us that we are ambassadors for Christ. You see that? Ambassadors for Christ. Now, there is a whole lot of stuff that you can actually be, but everybody knows that each country has an ambassador or a couple of ambassadors that represent them in different countries. So we must understand that as citizens of the kingdom of heaven, the Bible already tells us that this world is not our home. So we are here as citizens of heaven, representing the kingdom of heaven. And therefore, you see Paul referred to us as ambassadors. The ambassador speaks on behalf of the kingdom that they represent, or the nation that they represent. So the Bible also tells us, because we are ambassadors, whenever we speak, we must speak for God. We must speak as oracles. That's what he calls it, right? As oracles of God. So we cannot, as ambassadors, speak contrary to what God wants us to speak. We can't act out of the bounds that God says that we must act as ambassadors. There is a certain expectation for us as ambassadors. So our action will reflect on the kingdom. So if we're not acting right, people are going to blame the kingdom. Has anybody ever gone anywhere else and one American act crazy in another place, and then every American gets blamed for it? Yeah, because again, that person outside of the country is like a representation of the country. So we're all representing the heavenly kingdom. So therefore, our actions need to reflect on what God's actions is. So what we're actually going to look at this evening is that love compels us to represent Christ. Love compels us to represent Christ. I was trying to get that stuff on back there, but it will not turn on at all. Oh, there we go. Okay, there it is. All right. So love compels us to represent Christ. Now, in the Great Commission, as we look in Matthew 28, 19 and 20, in Matthew 28, 19 and 20, here is something that we can see here from this. Now, evangelism, Jesus said that if you love me, you will do what? You will keep my commandments. So what we need to understand, the command to go into all the world to preach the gospel is one that we should actually undertake because we love Christ. So now the love of Christ should compel each and every one of us to become evangelism volunteers, if you want to call it, if you want to add the word volunteers to it. Evangelism must be our primary focus. Again, like I said this morning, It is not based on our speech, and it's not based on our appearance. It's really based on that love. If you love me, you will do what? Keep my commandments. Evangelism is an act of love. Spreading the gospel is an act of love. Me telling somebody about Christ, trying to win that soul, is an act of love. All of it is an act of love. Again, like we talked about this morning, love is not something that you only do periodically. It is not something that's actually done to someone because they did something nice for you, and now you are returning a favor. No, that's not what love is. Love is that constant action despite however you may be feeling. Sometimes love does not necessarily reflect what you feel inside. You could actually feel hurt and broken inside. You could have just came from a broken relationship, loss of a loved one, even termination from the job. You could even face all of those. And all those internal emotions can actually be tearing you apart. But all of that should not necessarily affect your love for others. And this is what the Bible is actually telling us. Jesus showed us how it was. He was torn apart. He was like, Father, if it's possible, just allow the cup to pass from me. But Jesus knew, despite how I may be feeling on the inside, this is an act that I must undertake. And so he still shows us love. So, again, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Again, Jesus is showing us that we have the authority of the whole heavenly council behind us when we go out. Who are we representing? We're representing all of heaven. We're representing the authorities of heaven as ambassadors. And look at what it says in verse 20. Teaching them to do what? Observe all things. Teaching them to observe all things. So if you love me, keep my commandments. Again, we are teaching people to love Jesus. All things that I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Jesus said that I am with you. You know, sometimes we may be wondering, where is Jesus? He's right there with you. That's what he's saying. So you may think that, oh, man, it's a heavy lift, but he's right there with you. You know, I was just having a conversation with Brother Sion the other day, and I was telling him, I think it was Wednesday night. Wednesday night? Was it Wednesday? No, it wasn't Wednesday. It was yesterday. It was yesterday. And I was telling him that, you know, a lot of times, even when you're preparing for lessons, do you think it matters how I feel, how tired I may feel? No, I still know that lesson needs to be done. So it doesn't really matter. I need to get up and I need to go. You may say, boy, I had a long day today and I am drained. Guess what? I can't come here and tell you, you know what, South Lumberton, I'm sorry, I didn't prepare a lesson because I was so drained. Is that what you all would love to hear? No, you see, you wouldn't love to hear that. And if you wouldn't love to hear that, guess who wouldn't love to hear that? You think Christ would love to hear that? No. Regardless of what you have, you still need to make sure you have love enough for Christ that you can actually go ahead and do the things that he asked you to do. So again, we look in the stuff. He said, if you love me, you do what? Keep my commandments. What is this? Why are we keeping his commandment? Why is this? He said, because this is the love of God. This is the love of God. You see that? 1 John 5. This is the love of God, that you do what? Keep his commandments. And his commandments are not burdensome. Oh yeah, sometimes we think, boy, it's too hard. No, it's not. It's not. But yes, it causes us to get out of our comfort zone and to do the things that seems uncomfortable. And that's what Christianity is. You see, when everybody else want to sit over there and have their own conversation according to what the world thinks and operate according to how the world operates, we as believers are called to separate ourselves from among them and not engage in such behavior, not entertain such conversations, and to live a life that is completely different to theirs, to actually show them how they must change from their style of living to follow that which God has authorized. So yes, it may seem uncomfortable, but just because it's uncomfortable does not mean it is impossible. Because Jesus says, I'm with you to help you. I'm with you to help you. We got to look at Paul's example. Let's look at Paul's example as how, love will actually cause us to represent, in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 10. Look at what Paul says. Paul says, I know you see me as this globe-trotting evangelist. I'm going all around to all these Gentile territory preaching the gospel. But he says that I'm not doing it in my own strength. He said it is God's grace that made me who I am. He said, by the grace of God I am what I am, and his grace towards me was not in vain. But I labored more abundantly than they all, yet not I, but the grace of God which was with me. So again, looking at this, even though Paul is actually saying that the extent of his ministry was a bigger in scope than the rest of the apostles, Paul is actually still saying that I didn't do it all on my own strength. I was able to do it because God was with me. Jesus promised that I'm with you the whole time. And yes, he sure was to help me fulfill this. So can he help you today? Yes. We all say a lot of times, well, if God brought you to it, he will bring you through it. Sometimes it's a lot easier said than done. Because sometimes we're saying like, boy, I don't know if I can go through with this. We're still wondering whether or not we can go through, and God is trying to tell us, yes, you can. Yes, you can. See, he's even calling right now to confirm somebody. Yeah, I'm going to take you right through it. I tell you, he's always on time, ain't he? Is everybody okay? So what should we be actually doing when it actually comes to evangelism? Because love compels us to represent Christ differently. I want you to look at how Christ was. Look at how Christ was. So this is about Jesus having compassion on everyone. And now, do we have the compassion that Christ has? Look at what the Bible tells us in Matthew chapter 9. Matthew chapter 9, we look at a few verses. It says, then Jesus went about all the cities. He went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom. You notice that Jesus wasn't talking about the popular news of the day. Yeah, he didn't worry about how the economy was. Jesus wasn't concerned about the justice system. Jesus wasn't concerned about all of that. He was just concerned about spreading the gospel of the kingdom. The same thing that we should actually be concerned about. Because he said to go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. Preach the gospel. Not all the different social stuff that we see going on, right? He was preaching and teaching the gospel of the kingdom and healing every sickness and every disease among the people. But when he saw the multitude, he was moved with compassion for them. Are we moved with compassion on the people that we see when we walk? Now I'm asking this. Every time I leave out of here, when I come down here and I take a right on that road, soon as I reach down there by that, what is it, cash and carry? That cash and carry, and then right on the opposite side is that little gas station kind of liquor store. Right. And then I look out there and then I see all those folks who are always right there. Have you seen them too? Are you moved with compassion when you see them? You see, a lot of times, and I'm saying this because some people, because of the things that they're actually using to mask whatever pain and suffering they may be going through, sometimes we can see the effects on them. And this is what Jesus is trying to show. It's like sometimes we look at the symptoms and overlook the cause of their problems. And the cause of the person's problem is not alcohol, but the cause of the problem is much deeper. Alcohol is just a symptom. Alcohol is just something that they use to mask the deep pain that's inside. And so oftentimes when we look at people, we misdiagnose people and we condemn people. And what the Bible is asking us to do is to have compassion on people, because it is the devil that has deceived and blinded the eyes of these folks and caused them to actually then turn to some of these things for the answer. And Jesus is telling us, you have the answer. I have given you the answer. I have given you the antidote to sin. And the antidote to sin is the gospel that is able to set men free. That is the antidote. Jesus was moved with compassion because they were weary and scattered like sheep having no shepherd. Look at what it said in verse 7. Then he said to his disciples, the harvest truly is plentiful. There are a lot of souls out there to be saved. That's what Jesus is saying. But the laborers are few. You see, I talked about this before, and I tell you, like a lot of people, they clocked in, but they checked out. Jesus says a lot of work needs to be done, but you can't find the people to work. The laborers are few. Now, when you look around, do you see a lot of laborers? Or is it sometimes you are the last one standing? Look at what he says. Therefore, pray the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. You know, a lot of times we want to pray for everything else. We're praying for everything else. We're praying every day for health and strength and health and strength and health and strength. And we need to pray for workers. Because truth be told, some of us, we're praying for health and strength, and God gives us the health and strength, and we still ain't get out in the field to go labor. And we say, like, get out there. I ain't going out there. It's hot out there. You do it. You do it. Compassionate evangelism. Now you see what we have here? Matthew showed us that Jesus is the standard when it comes to evangelism. Now, does the love for Christ compels you to imitate his compassionate stance as it comes to evangelism? Are you compelled now to be compassionate? Peter said that we have to be compassionate. He says, sanctify the Lord in your hearts and always be ready to give a defense to everyone who asks you the reason for the hope within you with compassion and fear or reverence. Now, do we do it with compassion? I know. It's tough, isn't it? Be honest. Love is not a feeling. Love is not a feeling. Love is a way of life. You see, Jesus didn't come and say, well, I felt loving today. The Bible tells us that God is love. It's not a feeling. It's his nature. It's a way of life. And if we as believers are to imitate Christ, then we should actually live lovingly. It's not based on how we feel. Are y'all okay? I'm not angry at nobody. So again, our job here, our duty, is not to condemn. It's not to condemn. It's really to have compassion so that we can call others to Christ. They will be attracted to the compassionate behavior, the compassionate attitude. They will be responsive to it. But now when we condemn, we only push them away. Here's something else that we need to look at. Here's something else that we need to look at. We're going to be finished here in a minute. Love, we talk about this again. When it comes to love, there are no barriers. There are no barriers where love is concerned. And so as we represent Christ, we can't have barriers between us. And sad to say, the church as an institution, sometimes it has erected more barriers in itself than anything else. Look at this. As many of you as were baptized into Christ, you have done what? You have put on Christ. And look at this. There is neither, you see it? There is neither what? Jew nor Greek. There is neither slave nor free. There is neither male nor female, but you are all one in Christ. And now, I'm telling you this. On Sunday morning in the United States of America, and that not just here, but around the world, Sunday mornings, whether it's Sunday evenings, whether it's Wednesday evenings or Thursday evenings, amongst many churches, it's perhaps the most divisive or divided that we can be. We say that we are neither this nor that, and love breaks down barriers. But you know what? Sometimes you got to be careful where you go, even on those times. Because truth be told, one race will go over here, while another race goes over here. There is no integration. There is separation. You're separated by race, and everyone still wants to be separated by other means. And this is a church. Separated. Now, if we're going to live like that, how can we then convince everybody else to be loving and to be integrated and to actually be one? When I come and I say, like, that's a white congregation, that's a black congregation, that's like the rich congregation, that's a poor congregation, this is an urban congregation, this is that congregation, this is the church. Every one of God's children should feel at home wherever they go. And even here, sometimes we have these lectureships and all of these things that go on. And sometimes you realize that this lectureship here is only just black congregations attending. And this other lectureship here is only white congregations attending this lectureship. And this institution over here, this is only whites over here. And this institution over here, institutions of learning. And this is mainly a black, and this is a white. And then we say that, oh, how we love Jesus and we're all one. And then we can stand in front of each other and repeat these verses. But do they really mean anything if all I'm going to do is repeat them and not live them? So how am I living as a representative of the kingdom when Jesus is like, no, you're all one. All one. And I'll say this again, when you actually look at the early church and you can see the area where it was geographically and look at the map of the Mediterranean area, and you know that it comprises most of Southern Europe, most of Western Asia, most of Northern Africa. You can see the whole diaspora of people of many colors and everything integrated. And this is why Paul can actually say, like, it doesn't matter if you leave from over here and you go over here, or if you leave from over here and you go over here. Everybody, we're all one. We're all one. So love should break the barriers that we do have. But again, like I said, we erect barriers because they make us comfortable. They make us comfortable. I'm just going to give you some practical stuff that we can actually do to help show love, and then the lesson is yours. First thing we can do is we can share. We can share. If we want to really show love, we can share. And we can share. Help others in time of need without expecting anything in return. That's what Jesus says. Jesus said you don't lend to those who have the capacity to lend back to you or to give back to you, but you give expecting nothing in return. Do you think God is expecting payment for what he did for us? Giving us his only begotten son, when he actually lets us know that nothing in life could actually pay. Nothing could repay the price. And so God already knows that this is a debt that you cannot pay, and he is not expecting that you do it. So what he wants to do is show us that I was willing to share my son with you because I love you. And what he's asking us to do is to share the things that he has blessed us with others. God pours into us so we can pour into others. And so many of us, sometimes we think like God is only pouring into myself or pouring into me so that I can contain everything. No. He blesses us so we could bless others. So again, sharing. We talked about that this morning with the early church. The early Christians didn't consider the things that they had to just be their own, but they said that it belongs to each and every one of us. Whatever I have, I'm willing to share with you. Whatever you have, would be willing to share with me. That's the first thing that we can do. The second thing that we can do is serve. We could serve. We could understand that humility brings the greatest honor. That's what Jesus said. Remember Jesus washing the disciples' feet? And Peter was like, Lord, no. You're the Christ, the Son of the living God. Ain't no way you're going to wash my feet. But then once he understood what Jesus was saying, Peter was willing to say, Lord, come, you give me a bath. Don't just stop at my feet. You could give me a whole bath. And Jesus then let him know that if you want to be greatest in the kingdom, then you must serve. You must serve. And so the greatest honor is to be a servant. That is the greatest honor. So what can we do? Again, practical way to show love is to serve. When we're willing now to say that I'm going to get rid of my pride and I'm going to now humble myself and show you that I esteem you enough to serve you. This is what Jesus is looking for. This is what he's looking for. So that's something that we could do, is serve. Let me give you another thing that we can actually do to show that we have love. So we could share, we could serve. You know what we could do? And we talk about this a lot on Wednesday nights sometimes. We can forgive. Forgive. Extend grace and let go of past grudges. That's what we could do. Extend grace and let go of past grudges. Learn to forgive. Again, like we talked about, if Jesus can ask for forgiveness for those who were crucifying him, then we too can ask for forgiveness for the person who all they did was just looked at us the wrong way and gave us the stink eye. I can forgive them. It don't matter if they talk about me. I still need to forgive them. You know, people will talk with you. They will talk at you. They will talk about you. They will talk over you. Huh? They will do all of that. Yeah, so it doesn't matter. You ain't going to stop them from talking. But you still got to forgive them, though. Forgive them. Extend that grace to them. Another thing that we can do is to encourage or edify one another if we really love each other. How about we speak positive things and speak life around those around us? Let them know that they are an asset to the kingdom. You see, a lot of times when we have, sometimes it's new people that may come to the area. It may be new converts or whatever the case may be. If you do not wrap your arms around them to let them know that they are an asset to the kingdom, you're going to lose them. And we cannot just be in the business of baptizing folks and losing people. We got to baptize and keep people. And how do we do it? We do it through encouragement. We do it through edification. It's one thing to say, oh, we have a new brother in Christ. We have a new sister added to the body. And then it's like, okay, I guess they don't want to be here. No, we got to go find them. We got to go find them. So you see that? Encourage them. Set the example for them. Because we're all teaching each other. Me as a young babe, I need to be learning from the older Christians. And sometimes even the older Christians, there are things that you can learn from the new convert. You came up in an era that was totally different than what they're in now. You're just an adult in their young era. So sometimes it will be good so that you now can actually learn the things that they are learning. And now you can actually say, well, I can learn how to live in their world and understand their world. See how it works? So it goes both ways. You teach them, and they can teach you. And then the last thing that we can actually do is just to be a unified force. Be a unified force. Understand that we're on the same team. And I know that some of you play basketball when you were in high school. Some of you play football when you were in high school and all of that stuff. You know the team is going in one direction when you're on that field. If you're going to that end of the field, you don't get the ball, turn around and go back to this end because it's closer. You still got to fight through whatever obstacles there may be to get down to the other end of the field. And how do you do it? You do it as a team. Brothers and sisters, we're all trying to get to eternity. We're trying to get to heaven. And we need to make sure that we're all there as a unified force, helping each other along. Sometimes we're going to grow weary. We're going to go tired. But I still got to say, Brother Shaw, hang in there. It's going to be worth it. I still got to say, Sister Thompson, come on. Let's go. Sister Sutton, come on. Let's go. And you know what? When we think that, oh man, Sister Sutton, come on, Sister Sutton, we got to pour into you because we need you. Each and every one of us, we're important for the kingdom. And we cannot leave anyone behind. So as I stated earlier, as I close this, in addition to preaching and teaching the gospel, we have to live the gospel. We must live it because we're called to live loving lives. And if we are compelled by the love of Christ, then we will focus more on our evangelistical efforts. And as we share the gospel, we have to let the love of Christ shine through us. Let his compassion shine through us and show people that we are different and that we are indeed his disciples. Do you love him enough? Are you ready to keep his commandments? We know what the gospel asks us to do. God wants us to come out from darkness and to come into the marvelous light of his dear Son. He wants us to come into the kingdom. He wants the kingdom to be expanded here on earth. He wants other people to become a part of the kingdom. He wants to save mankind. He does not want mankind to experience his wrath. Why not join the effort? Allow love, the love of Christ, to compel you to live differently. Compel you to be the person that God created you to be. A new creature. Let's all work to make heaven our home. This is my lesson for you this evening. God bless each and every one of you.